In the summer of 2019, I got to experience something pretty cool, which was I went to Le Mans, the 24-hour car race. And if my lack of knowledge in motorsports is going to show, it already has done. So last summer I went to Le Mans, which is the name of both a town, is it a city or a town? I think it's a town in no, I think it's a city. A city in France, and also the name of a 24-hour motorsports race. And when I say 24-hour, I mean 24 hours. There are 3 drivers in each car, not at the same time. Let's see how well I can explain this without thinking about it for half a year. There are 3 drivers in each car and they take turns to drive, but the car is driving around the track for 24 hours. It's literally, it starts at like 3 p.m. on the Saturday or whatever, and then ends at 3 p.m. on the Sunday. The cars drive through the night. The drivers change. I think they're only allowed to drive for like 3 or 4 hours or something. Again, any fans of the race are gonna absolutely slaughter me in the comments of how much this I'm getting wrong. But this is the general idea. Cars go around a track for 24 hours and it's a endurance test on the cars. Less of like a speed test, more of an endurance test. Can your car last 24 hours and can it do it quicker? Can it get around the track quicker and more times than all the other cars? It was fascinating. It was an amazing, amazing, amazing experience. I haven't seen many races in person. I don't really follow motorsports at all, but even as a casual viewer of motorsports, this was a really, really cool event. I'm really glad I got to go see it. I feel very lucky, and here's what I thought of it. I think the first thing to note is it's enormous. As in the event and the track and the whole thing, like in the middle of the track, I don't know how many miles it is, but there's a few miles sort of in the middle of the track that's got a fun fair in it and stores and sort of restaurants and things. It was really cool. I mean, obviously you had so much to do and walk around and go see. And that was a nice thing about the race being 24 hours. It wasn't like, I need to watch the whole thing because it's so short that I can't miss any of it. That wasn't the case because it was 24 hours. It was amazing to see all these cars, all these different types of cars, which is another thing I learned, is there's actually 3 different races going on at the same time of different classes of car, which was interesting. It was so cool. Like, cool is one of the best words I can use to describe this, because it was really cool to see all these cars and this famous, historic kind of race take place, and to be there and see it live, it was a cool experience. So after we enjoyed watching the cars go by for a few hours, we left the event, went out, had dinner, and then we came back for what is maybe the most spectacular and iconic bit of Le Mans, which is the nighttime racing. And this was hella cool. One of the most famous things about the Le Mans nighttime racing is when you're watching, and you can get very close to the cars, when you're watching them at night. They've got all these really cool lights and things, which I really appreciated. They sort of jazzed up these cars, all these sort of neon, colourful lights. But the most fascinating thing is at the corners where the cars have to brake to go around a corner, because the brake pads glow this amazing orange red as they heat up, absorbing the energy. It was amazing. It was almost like the wheels were lit by some weird glowing light themselves. It was very difficult to capture on both photo and video. And any photo or video I might have got of these brake pads does not do it justice to how cool it was to see it in real life, to sort of see the car go around the corner, see it brake, see the brake pads heat up, and then sort of cool off as it accelerates. It was such a cool experience. Speaking of taking photos and stuff, I actually really enjoyed taking photos of the cars as they were racing by, because A, it's not easy to get, you know, a good shot of a car that's going 100 miles an hour, and B, I learned a lot about my camera and photography as a whole, sort of figuring out the best settings to capture the car so it doesn't look like it's just stopped. So you want to have some kind of motion in it, and obviously do my best to capture it in the frame, which, you know, when you're 20 feet away from the cars, looking through a fence and they're going 100 miles an hour, is easier said than done. But I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. It's really cool that you can sort of experience Le Mans in so many different ways, and you can be the kind of person who does just sit there and watch the whole thing and then crash afterwards, or you can just come in bits and you can come for bits and bobs and then leave and come back, or stay. And it was really cool. I mean, I've used the word cool so many times in this video, but it's genuinely the best way to describe the race and the whole event. So after we'd come back the next morning, the most noticeable thing was how haggard the cars looked. Bear in mind, these were beautiful, pristine cars when they started 18 hours ago, or however long it might have been. They now looked so worn and just tired. There was duct tape over a bunch of them, sort of just trying to hold the car together to make it across the line at 3 p.m. It was, I mean, it's like no other race in the entire world. It's so iconic. That is genuinely the best way I can explain it. Another thing I have to mention is the sound. There's nothing I can compare it to, apart from maybe it being as if you are standing next to an aeroplane taking off all the time. It was very loud, as you could imagine. I had my headphones in most of it, and obviously a lot of people had ear defenders on. They were even selling these like cute kid ear defenders, which were like tiny ear defenders, because it was really loud. And when you're that close to the cars, it's sort of hitting 120, 130 decibels, which obviously is not healthy for your ears to hear that loud. So yeah, I had my headphones in for most of it, either just to protect myself from the noise, or I was listening to music, or listening into the radio that they sort of talk you through everything that's going on. So the sound, as you're about to hear in this next clip, again, I can't, or as you've probably heard actually throughout this entire video when I've played the footage, obviously. But yeah, it was super loud. Louder than I'd let it play in this video, because, you know, RIP headphone users. Isn't gonna happen, don't worry. And speaking of the sound, one of the interesting things that I hadn't expected is by the end of the race, you actually got really good, your ears really got attuned to the different types of noises, the different types of cars' engine sounds were. What was that sentence? But basically, the cars, they sounded different, and I know that sounds really obvious to say, but it was interesting that you could start to hear the difference between the sound of a Porsche or a Ferrari or a Ford car, and it was fascinating. I hadn't considered that they'd sound so different. Porsches, in my opinion, sounded the worst. They were really not nice to listen to, like some of the other cars. Ferraris are alright. Fords I think I really liked, if I remember correctly. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed my trip down to Le Mans to see the race. I'd highly recommend it for anyone who's even a casual viewer of motorsports. It's probably a bucket list item for a lot of massive motorsports fans, and I think it should be definitely on there because it's an amazing experience. When you go with good people, it's everything you want out of a motorsports event. It's a lot of fun. It's, again, final time I use this word, but it's so cool, and there's a lot to do, there's a lot to see, and I thoroughly recommend it to anyone who's considering going next summer. Thanks so much for watching this video. Hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you've learned something about Le Mans. Double check me on stuff though, because I'm not exactly sure how much of what I said was 100% accurate. But thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.